back to my last one, y'all. This whole thing going on with Antonio Brown, Ben Roethlisberger, and now throwing in, Mike Tomlin and whatnot. Mike Tomlin allowed the inmates to run the asylum. And as a coach, that's something you cannot do. You cannot do that. You cannot allow that to even happen whatsoever. You can't allow that to happen. So, with that being said, you have Antonio Brown, who's supposed to possibly be leaving because they talked to the Rooneys and stuff, and that's not going to work and whatnot. But this was an issue back in, I want to say 2015, 2016, when after they had a big win. And Antonio, when they supposed to be having a team meeting, and Antonio Brown was supposed to be in the team meeting after the game. He sent up there Facebook Live. That's an issue, and that should have been addressed. They can talk about Ben Roethlisberger. Well, the Pittsburgh Steelers organization allowed that to happen. We don't talk about. What's funny is it's not about me trying to justify anything for Antonio Brown. Again, just going back to my last thing of what I said. No Colin Kaepernick thing. It's a way that you can handle your business where you don't have to be all out there like that. But it's all came out. People don't realize that this is nothing new what Ben Roethlisberger has done. He called out Hines Ward years ago, and I remember that he said, well, we might need a taller receiver, 6'2", 6'3" receiver. They had their issues. This is what is allowed to happen for that particular franchise. You follow? And they allowed Ben to do this. And people forget because Ben is supposed to be this model citizen now. Forget all the crud from the motorcycle incident, the sexual assault charges and the groping and this and that and the party bus and all that kind of stuff like that. But I told partners of mine years ago, I said, they're going to pull him aside. And hey, man, you better get it together. You better grab you a girlfriend or whatever and have you a kid and start trying to be like a model citizen around there. And that is exactly what happened. But really, at the end of the day, that doesn't make no difference. So he calls guys up like he's the owner, he's this, he's that, and everything like that. That's something that Mike Tomlin should have gotten under wraps. But this is what I find interesting. The most interesting thing about this whole situation, in my opinion, right, is the fact that with somebody like Mike Tomlin, who's considered a player's coach, seems to me that players' coaches do not get the respect that they possibly should. That they should, in my opinion. I don't know if that is something that's supposed to happen. And Mike Tomlin is 125-66, record. Super Bowl champ. I think it's been a 2. I talked about this last year after the playoff loss of last year, 2017 going 2018 season. But all of a sudden, LeVeon Bell, Antonio Brown, Brent Robinson, because he's thinking these guys are mature enough and be able to handle this. No. Obviously, they're not. Obviously, they're not. And if you're a player's coach, it's like these guys just don't seem like they won't act right, these guys nowadays. That might used to mean something back in the day, but it don't mean anything. So when you look back, I don't even though Tony Dungy played and whatnot, I don't know if he was a player's coach. He ran things business and he won. But guys like Art Shell, players got lasted pretty good. Next thing you know, disintegrated. I don't really, some of these, these coaches, some of these African American coaches, like I said, I don't think they can play that particular role with these guys. And I don't think it's respected. That's my 2 cents on it. I don't think it's respected. And how it seems like you could play for Mike Tomlin, and Mike Tomlin gave these guys lots of rope to do whatever and whatnot, and it's coming back to bite him because he let them do this, and he ended up letting them like, okay, well he's a great player, so I'm not going to say this, that, and the other. No, that issue should have been resolved with that Facebook issue, and it never was, and that just snowballed. And now that they gave Antonio Brown that money, now they got to do whatever they got to do to try to get rid of him because they're supposed to be parting ways. Just because a quarterback has won you 2 Super Bowls, with the whole aspect with Ben Roethlisberger, what have you done for us lately? You call out people here and there. I've seen Ben throw some horrible interceptions. And Ben's the first ballot Hall of Famer in my opinion. But the thing about with Roethlisberger and what he's done, and he needs to, if he's going to try to get another ring, to sit him up there, he's going to have to, he has to do better than what he's doing. And you're losing 2 key players, and your wide receivers calling you out. He's not without fault, mind you, but that just shows you that. But Mike Tomlin is the coach of that team. You can't allow that to go on. And people like Ben you don't call me out like that. You don't do that. You got an issue with me, you say something to me behind closed doors. I remember years ago when the Buffalo Bills first started their whole thing, and they was called the Bickering Bills for a hot second. This was before they made the Super Bowl, when they were still young and they still trying to come up. And Jim Kelly said something in a particular thing, and then Thurman Thomas basically said, maybe it's the quarterback. The quarterback may need to change it. And that whole dynamic, after that, you never heard anything else. They ended up squashing whatever they had, and they needed to do what they needed to do. That's what needs to happen there. But Mike Tomlin has to sit that in, he needs to sit that in check. Cannot allow these guys to sit up there and do the things that they call themselves doing and not address the situation. That's your team. Roethlisberger is a player, but like I think Deion Sanders said something interesting. He's like, but since they sitting up there giving these guys all this money, these quarterbacks, and you can't touch them, you can't do this, those guys have a ownership type of mentality. Something that Antonio Brown said, they have an untouchable type of mentality. You can't tell me nothing. And I can call you out anytime I want to call you out, because I can do that. No, you shouldn't be able to do that. You are still just a football player, partner. And if you're not playing good, eventually you will be gone. You don't hear that stuff over there with Tom Brady, Bill Belichick. You don't hear that. A lot of other different teams, you don't hear that. But you hearing that with Pittsburgh? Model franchise? Hard nose? And with Ben, dude, you're in a lot of years, your careers, you're in the twilights. You are 35, 36. You don't have much longer left. So they got to get it together, but it starts with Mike Tomlin. And Mike Tomlin needs to have a sit up there and have a talk with the Rooneys and be like, look, I'm about to start scolding this damn Roethlisberger, so I'm not having that. I'm just going to let you know so that if he come back crying to y'all, we got to be on the same page. Because if the owner and the coach and GM are not on the same page, there will be issues every single time. So something has got to be done when it comes to that situation. And Tomlin's too good of a coach that is built and has done what he's done for his legacy to be tarnished by this. And right now his legacy is being tarnished. You got James Harrison talking mess, Antonio Brown talking mess, LeVeon Bell talking mess. Everybody got something to say. And dude's a good coach. I can understand if he was garbage, but he's not. And he's got to grab this stuff and do what he needs to do. And that's for him being given to these guys. Given to them, y'all can handle it. Much like how Bill Walsh gave it to the 49ers and their team, after a while, you got to give it to them and they got to go do what they got to do. But them guys took it and ran with it. You didn't see that bickering bullshit and stuff like that with the 49ers back in the day. It has to stop. And this is right now ruining not only the Steelers franchise, it's giving a bad taste in the mouth, because it can't ruin the franchise, I don't think. But as far as what Mike Tomlin has built for himself as a head coach in this league, it's tarnishing him right now. And he needs to get a hold, and he needs to come back and need to win a couple of playoff games and possibly get to an AFC championship game. He has to do that to rectify some of these things that's going on right now. And he got to start with it now. One of the best things they did was possibly let Antonio Brown go. And he let him be somebody else's problem. But the funny part about all of that is, like I said, Antonio Brown has been an issue for a minute. You know, insofar as his antics. So I guess guys like James Harris, when he was playing that, he ain't had nothing to say to him then. Because he was there and he didn't say anything. It's funny how them guys get out of football. Now they want to talk shit about it's the coach and this and that. As a player, why don't you do this when there's a lot of old school players and that shit when it went on in our locker room? At all. And Antonio Brown needs, like I said, he wants guaranteed money. He wants this, he wants that. I'm like, okay, we'll see what happens. But he better watch it before he mess around, because he's a Hall of Famer as far as what he's put up. He still hasn't won that championship. Not that he's saying he has to win it, but what he needs to do or what needs to happen with him, oh yeah. Yeah, he needs to get to a particular point where he don't want to go somewhere where he sit out to Siberia. Much like John Jefferson did back in the day with Green Bay. You don't want to go get sent to Siberia or get sent to some club or mess around and get sent to Buffalo. And end up the next 5 or 6 your years is done. It's ruined. You got paid, but it's ruined. Okay? So that's it for me today, y'all. Y'all check me out on Twitter. Hit that like button. Got any comments? Hit it down there below. You know, and like I said, you know, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Check me out over on Twitter as well. Everything Football 62, on Cupman 62. You can check me out there, and like I say, any comments, anything like that, hit down below, and we can discuss some things and stuff. I've been having a little conversation back and forth with the old John Riggins thing I put out, but it's been fun though. It's been cool. And like I say, y'all, I'll be back. But like I say, there is no GOAT, no greatest of all time, as long as time's still going on. You guys have a good one. All right.